And you can feel your body working differently after a walk, even when the walk seemed too ordinary to deserve attention. But the important change is not simply the number of calories you burned. And walking is not automatically harmless or equally effective for every person, every pace, or every condition. And that's why today we're going to trace what happens inside your body when you walk consistently, which benefits are well established, which claims are overstated, and how to turn an ordinary walk into a realistic health practice after 40. Try something as you listen. Stand up if you safely can, or simply place both feet on the floor. Notice how much of your body is involved in remaining upright. Your feet adjust, your ankles stabilize, your calves quietly contract, your hips, abdomen, back, and eyes all participate in a process you rarely notice. Now take a few slow steps. Nothing dramatic happened, no machine switched on, no single organ received a magical signal. And yet, with every step, muscles began demanding fuel, blood vessels began adjusting their diameter, joints began distributing fluid, and the brain began updating its map of where the body is in space. That is the central mystery of walking. How can such a low-cost, familiar action influence the heart, blood sugar, blood pressure, mood, mobility, and long-term health at the same time? The answer is not that walking is secretly a cure for everything. The answer is more interesting. Walking repeatedly gives several systems small, manageable tasks. Over time, those repeated signals can change how the systems respond. When people talk about walking, the conversation often becomes too narrow. They discuss calories, body weight, or the number displayed on a watch. Those things can matter, but they are only one part of the story. Walking also asks the circulatory system to deliver more blood. It asks muscles to remove and use glucose. It challenges balance and coordination. It gives joints regular movement without the high impact of running. It creates an opportunity to interrupt long periods of sitting, and it can change the mental state in which the rest of the day unfolds. Today, we'll follow three mechanisms. First, we'll look at what repeated muscle contraction does to circulation and metabolism. Second, we'll examine why regular movement helps preserve the physical systems that keep you independent: your legs, balance, gait, and joint function. Third, we'll look at the connection between walking, the brain, stress, and everyday energy regulation. We'll also separate three ideas that are often mixed together. Some effects of walking have been measured directly in controlled studies. Some findings are consistent but modest. Other claims, especially claims about preventing dementia or guaranteeing a longer life, come mostly from associations and should not be presented as certainty. By the end, you won't need to remember a perfect step count. You'll have something more useful, a way to start from your current level, place walking where it can have the greatest practical effect, and recognize when walking alone is not enough. Let's begin with the body at rest. Imagine you have been sitting for an hour. Your heart is still beating. Your lungs are still exchanging oxygen. Your brain is still active, but the large muscles of your legs, the largest muscle groups in the body, are doing very little. That matters because muscle is not merely a structure that moves the skeleton. Muscle is also a metabolic organ. When the muscles contract, they use energy. They draw on circulating fuel, including glucose. They also help move blood through the lower body, particularly when the calf muscles contract and relax during walking. This does not mean that sitting for an hour has suddenly damaged you. It means that the body's demand for movement has temporarily become very low. Now stand up and walk. The muscles do not wait for a dramatic workout before responding. Even gentle movement creates a small increase in energy demand. Blood flow changes, breathing adjusts,
The nervous system coordinates the feet, knees, hips, trunk, and eyes. Think of the body as a city. When the city is quiet, the roads still exist, but fewer vehicles are moving. When the population becomes active, traffic patterns change. Some routes widen. Some signals change timing. More deliveries are requested. Walking is not rebuilding the entire city. It is repeatedly practicing the traffic system. That distinction is important. One walk may produce a temporary effect. A consistent habit gives the body repeated opportunities to adapt. Many people believe walking only counts if it is long, exhausting, or performed in special clothing. If the walk does not leave you drenched in sweat, they assume it did not matter. That is one of the most persistent misunderstandings about physical activity. The body responds to the dose of movement, not to how impressive the movement looks. A slow walk can be useful for breaking up sitting, practicing balance, moving stiff joints, and beginning a habit. A brisk walk creates a greater cardiovascular and metabolic challenge. A longer walk adds more total activity. These are different doses serving different purposes. There is no single walk that is best for everyone. A person recovering from illness, managing arthritis, living with a heart condition, or returning to activity after years of inactivity may need a completely different starting point from someone already walking an hour each day. The mistake is not starting too easily. The mistake is assuming that the starting point should feel like the final goal. Another misunderstanding is that a particular number, especially 10,000 steps, represents a biological threshold. It does not. 10,000 steps became popular for historical and marketing reasons, not because the human body suddenly changes at that number. Research on daily steps generally shows a gradual relationship. Going from very little activity to somewhat more activity can be meaningful, while additional benefits often become smaller as activity rises. For many adults, a range somewhere around 6,000 to 8,000 steps may capture a large portion of the associations seen in observational research. But age, health, pace, terrain, and starting fitness all matter. Your body does not know whether your watch says 7,499 or 7,500. The first mechanism is simple enough to observe, but powerful enough to affect the entire day. Contracting muscles change how the body handles fuel. After a meal, glucose enters the bloodstream. The pancreas releases insulin, which helps move glucose from the blood into tissues. But muscle contraction can also stimulate glucose uptake through pathways that do not depend entirely on insulin. That is why a short walk after eating can be useful, especially for reducing the size or duration of a post-meal glucose rise. The muscle is acting like a temporary storage and processing facility. It is not removing sugar from the body in a mysterious way. It is using some of that circulating fuel to perform work. Picture a warehouse receiving a shipment. If every delivery arrives at once, the loading area becomes crowded. If the warehouse continues processing packages as they arrive, the traffic is easier to manage. A walk after a meal does not erase the meal. It changes the demand placed on the system at that moment. Controlled studies have repeatedly found that brief periods of walking after meals can reduce post-meal glucose excursions compared with remaining seated. The most useful version is often not one heroic walk at the end of the day, but several short bouts placed near meals. This is one of the clearest practical rewards in the entire discussion. If you are currently sedentary, you do not need to begin with a complicated exercise program to create a metabolic signal. A 10-minute walk after one meal may be a reasonable first experiment, provided walking is safe for you. The effect is especially relevant for people with insulin resistance, pre-diabetes, or type 2 diabetes. But it does not replace prescribed medication, blood glucose monitoring, nutrition care, or medical follow-up. It is an additional tool. And there's a second detail that matters. The legs do not need to move at an athletic pace for every metabolic benefit to exist. A comfortable walk may be the version you can repeat consistently. A brisker pace can add a stronger cardiovascular challenge when your body is ready. Here is the first practical result. For the next few days, choose one meal, often the largest meal or the meal after which you usually become sleepy, and walk for 10 minutes afterward. Do not turn it into a test of character. Do not walk through chest pain, faintness, unusual shortness of breath, or severe joint pain. Do not assume that faster is always better. Simply notice three things: how your body feels during the walk, how your energy feels the next hour, and whether the routine is easy enough to repeat. You are not trying to prove that one walk transformed your metabolism. You are testing whether a small, well-placed movement fits into your life. That matters because a moderate habit repeated hundreds of times is more relevant than an ambitious routine performed twice.
Now let's widen the picture. Every time you walk, the heart has to adjust output to meet the demand of the muscles. Blood vessels also adjust. The inner lining of blood vessels is called the endothelium. It helps regulate how vessels relax, contract, and respond to blood flow. Regular aerobic activity can improve vascular function and cardiorespiratory fitness. In people with elevated blood pressure, walking programs often produce modest reductions in systolic blood pressure, the top number in a blood pressure reading. Modest is not the same as irrelevant. Blood pressure is a continuous exposure. A small improvement maintained over time may matter more than a dramatic reading that appears once and disappears. Again, imagine the city. If traffic is repeatedly managed through narrow, rigid roads, pressure builds. If the road system becomes more responsive, the same amount of movement may be handled with less strain. That is an analogy, not a literal description of blood vessels, but it captures the practical idea. Regular movement can make the circulatory system more capable of responding to demand. Walking also contributes to aerobic fitness. Aerobic fitness is the ability to use oxygen during sustained activity. When it improves, ordinary tasks, climbing stairs, carrying groceries, walking across a parking lot, may require a smaller percentage of your total capacity. This is why two people can perform the same task and experience it very differently. For one person, a flight of stairs is a minor request. For another, it consumes nearly all available reserve. Walking consistently can increase that reserve, although the size of the improvement depends on duration, intensity, frequency, age, and health status. Research also finds associations between higher physical activity and lower cardiovascular risk. But most long-term mortality studies are observational. They can show that more active people tend to have better outcomes. They cannot perfectly prove that walking alone caused every difference. Active people may also sleep differently, eat differently, have different medical access, or begin with different health conditions. The responsible conclusion is not walking prevents heart attacks. The responsible conclusion is that regular walking supports several cardiovascular risk factors and is associated with better long-term outcomes, while it remains one part of a broader health picture. Consider two people who decide to walk more. The first person chooses a goal of 12,000 steps immediately. They walk hard for 3 days, develop a painful foot, and then stop for 3 weeks. The second person looks at their current average. It is 2,800 steps. They add a 10-minute walk after lunch and another short walk in the evening. The walks are not impressive, but they are repeatable. After 2 weeks, the second person adds a few minutes or extends one route. They are not winning a competition, they are increasing the number of days on which movement is normal. Which approach is more useful? The answer is not determined by motivation.
It is determined by exposure. Tissues need time to adapt. Tendons, feet, joints, and muscles can object when the amount of activity rises too quickly. A person may feel eager before the connective tissue is ready. Walking should be progressive, but progression can be extremely small. Add time before adding speed if your joints are sensitive. Add a little speed before adding distance if you already tolerate longer walks. Change only one variable at a time. And remember that terrain changes the dose. 10 minutes on a flat sidewalk and 10 minutes uphill are not the same demand.
The second mechanism involves the physical architecture of independence. Walking does not produce the same muscle growth as resistance training. That distinction is essential. If your goal is to increase strength or muscle size, you will probably need exercises that challenge the muscles more directly, often with resistance and progressive loading. But walking still provides a repeated signal to the lower body. It asks the feet to land accurately, it asks the ankles to stabilize, it asks the knees and hips to transfer force, it asks the trunk to remain organized while the body moves through space. This is coordination under ordinary conditions. As people age, the loss of independence often begins not with a dramatic event, but with a gradual reduction in reserve. Walking becomes slower, a curb feels more demanding, rising from a chair takes more effort. After an illness, the person has less capacity to rebuild. Daily walking cannot prevent every decline, but maintaining the practice of moving through space helps preserve familiarity with the task. Now consider joints. Healthy joints are not designed to remain motionless all day. Movement helps distribute synovial fluid, the lubricating fluid within joints, and can reduce the sense of stiffness that appears when a joint stays in one position for too long. Walking may be appropriate for many people with mild to moderate joint symptoms, but movement helps should never be translated into pain does not matter. A new, severe, or worsening pain deserves attention. Swelling, instability, a locking sensation, or an inability to bear weight are not invitations to push harder. The idea that all joint pain requires complete rest is too simplistic. So is the idea that everyone should walk through it. A clinician or physical therapist can help determine the right dose, surface, footwear, and progression. The most important benefit here is not a promise that walking will rebuild cartilage. It is that regular, tolerable movement may support mobility and function while helping the muscles around a joint do their share of the work. Think of walking as maintaining a basic operating system. It keeps the communication between the brain and lower body active. It gives the nervous system repeated practice in timing and balance. It helps you remain familiar with the physical demands of daily life. But walking has limits. If you only walk at the same easy pace on the same flat surface, you may not challenge every quality needed for aging well. Strength is one example. Power is another. The ability to stand from a low chair, carry an object, recover from a stumble, or climb stairs may require more than steady walking. This is why public health guidelines generally recommend both aerobic activity and muscle strengthening activity. Walking can be the foundation. It should not be marketed as the complete structure. For many adults over 40, a sensible combination may include regular walking plus 2 weekly sessions of basic resistance exercises suited to their ability. That could involve supervised machines, body weight movements, resistance bands, or carefully chosen household exercises. The exact format is less important than matching the challenge to the person. The goal is not to collect forms of exercise like trophies. The goal is to preserve useful capacity. And that brings us to the third mechanism.
Walking changes more than the muscles below the neck. Regular physical activity is associated with improvements in mood and reductions in depressive symptoms for many people. The effect is not necessarily immediate, and it is not identical to treatment for a diagnosed mental health condition, but the pattern is consistent enough to take seriously. Why might this happen? Part of the answer is biological. Walking changes circulation, arousal, and the activity of the nervous system. Part of the answer is behavioral. A walk may expose you to daylight, reduce time spent in one position, create a transition between tasks, or provide contact with another person. Part of the answer may be attentional. When the mind is trapped inside the same room, the same screen, and the same loop of thought, changing the physical environment can change the conditions under which thought occurs. No single explanation is sufficient. You may have heard that walking releases endorphins or increases a brain substance called BDNF, short for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF is involved in the growth, survival, and adaptability of nerve cells. That mechanism is biologically plausible and supported by exercise research. But it should not be turned into a dramatic promise that every walk creates new brain cells or prevents dementia. Long-term studies often find that people who remain more active have lower rates of cognitive decline. That is encouraging. It is also still different from proving that walking alone prevents dementia in every individual. The most defensible message is more grounded. Walking can support mood, daily stress regulation, physical function, and some aspects of cognitive performance. Those benefits may make it easier to continue engaging with the world, and sustained engagement with movement, people, learning, sleep, and medical care may matter over the long term. Many people notice that their appetite becomes more predictable when they become more active, but this is not guaranteed, and the explanation is rarely as simple as walking burns calories so you eat less. Physical activity can influence sleep, mood, blood sugar patterns, stress, and meal timing. All of these can affect appetite. For some people, a walk reduces the urge to snack because it breaks an automatic routine. For others, increased activity increases hunger. Both responses are normal. This is another reason to avoid promising that walking automatically causes weight loss. Body weight is influenced by food intake, activity, sleep, medications, hormones, health conditions, and many other factors. Walking can contribute to energy expenditure and metabolic health, but the amount varies greatly. The more useful question is not how many calories did this walk erase. Ask instead, what did this walk make possible? Perhaps you sat less. Perhaps you slept better. Perhaps your legs felt more capable. Perhaps you had a calmer transition after work. Perhaps you made a different food choice because you were no longer eating directly from a stressful state. Those effects are real even when the scale does not move immediately.
So, how much should you walk? For generally healthy adults, widely used guidelines recommend at least 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity aerobic activity, with additional benefits possible at higher amounts. Brisk walking can count toward that target. A useful intensity test is the talk test. At a moderate pace, you can usually speak in sentences, but singing a full song would be difficult. That is not a laboratory measurement, but it is a practical way to estimate effort. You do not need to reach that intensity on every walk. Some walks can be gentle, some can be brisk, some can be short transitions between tasks. If you currently do very little, the first goal is not 150 minutes. The first goal is to create one reliable appointment with movement. Here is a simple progression. For the first week, observe your usual activity. If your phone or watch tracks steps, use the average as information, not as a judgment. If it does not, notice how many minutes you spend walking on a normal day. If you are below roughly 3,000 steps per day, add one 10-minute walk on most days. Keep the pace comfortable enough that you can recover easily. After 1 or 2 weeks, if your joints and energy are tolerating it, add a second short walk or extend the first one by 5 minutes. If you already walk regularly, gradually build toward roughly 150 minutes per week of moderate activity. A daily step range around 6,000 to 8,000 may be a reasonable practical destination for many adults, but it is not a required biological target. If your current level is higher, there is no need to reduce it merely because a certain range is often discussed. If your level is lower, there is no reason to view the entire day as a failure. Some movement is better than none. The best target is the highest level you can maintain without creating pain, exhaustion, or a cycle of overdoing and stopping. Timing can make walking easier to repeat. A short walk after a meal can be useful for people interested in post-meal glucose. A morning walk may provide daylight and structure. An afternoon walk can interrupt sedentary work. An evening walk can create a transition before sleep, although intense exercise close to bedtime affects people differently. There is no universal best hour. The best time is the time that solves a real problem in your day. Pair the walk with something that already happens: after lunch, after closing your computer, before taking a shower, while speaking with a friend on the phone. Make the first version so easy that you do not need to negotiate with yourself. Keep a route nearby. Place comfortable shoes where they are visible. Use a safe indoor option when weather or balance makes the outside route unsuitable. And do not let a device turn walking into a source of anxiety. Step counts can be useful feedback. They are not a verdict on your health. If the device says you reached your goal but your feet hurt, the pain still matters. If the device says you fell short but you spent an hour gardening, carrying groceries, or climbing stairs, the number does not represent your entire day.
A responsible conversation about walking must include its limits. Walking cannot guarantee a longer life. It cannot eliminate cardiovascular risk. It cannot replace strength training when strength is the goal. It cannot replace treatment for diabetes, hypertension, depression, arthritis, or heart disease. It cannot diagnose why you feel tired, short of breath, dizzy, or weak, and it cannot compensate for every other factor that influences health. Its value comes from being repeatable, adaptable, and connected to several systems at once. That may sound less dramatic than a miracle claim. It is also more useful. If you have chest pressure, fainting, unusual breathlessness, new neurological symptoms, or severe pain during activity, stop and seek appropriate medical care. People with unstable heart conditions, recent major illness, uncontrolled blood pressure, acute injury, or significant balance problems should obtain individualized guidance before increasing activity. If you live with diabetes and use medication that can cause low blood sugar, discuss exercise timing and monitoring with your healthcare professional. Safety is not an obstacle to movement. It is part of intelligent movement. Let's now separate what we know from what we infer. We know from controlled exercise studies that walking can increase energy use, challenge the cardiovascular system, improve functional capacity, and reduce post-meal glucose in relevant settings. We have consistent evidence that regular physical activity can improve blood pressure, aerobic fitness, mood, and physical function, although the size of the effect varies. We have strong observational evidence that people who are more physically active tend to experience lower rates of cardiovascular disease and premature death. But observational evidence does not mean walking is the only explanation. We have promising evidence that physical activity is related to healthier cognitive aging. We do not have grounds to tell every viewer that walking will prevent dementia. We have reason to believe walking can support joint function and mobility for many people. We should not claim that it reverses arthritis or rebuilds damaged cartilage. We have evidence that walking can help metabolism. We should not describe it as canceling the effects of any diet or guaranteeing weight loss. This distinction is not pedantic. When we exaggerate small effects, we make people distrustful when real life does not match the promise. When we describe modest effects accurately, people can use them.
If you want the simplest version of this entire video, use this plan.
Start with your current level. Walk for 10 minutes on most days. Place one of those walks after a meal if that timing fits your health and schedule. Keep the effort comfortable at first. Build duration gradually, then add moderate pace to some walks if you're tolerating the routine. Work toward approximately 150 minutes of moderate activity per week, but do not treat that number as a cliff. You are not inactive at 149 minutes and healthy at 150. Add strengthening exercises twice per week when possible, because walking and resistance training solve different problems. Use a route and schedule that you can repeat. And judge success by consistency, function, and recovery, not only by steps or body weight. If you miss a day, resume without punishment. A habit is not destroyed by one interruption. It becomes fragile when every interruption is interpreted as failure. Now return to the small experiment from the beginning. Place both feet on the floor. Notice the quiet work beneath your awareness. Your feet are sensing pressure, your ankles are adjusting, your legs are preparing to move. Your brain is coordinating a sequence that feels effortless only because you have practiced it thousands of times. That ordinary sequence is not a miracle. It is a repeated conversation between muscle, blood vessels, joints, metabolism, balance, and the brain. The conversation becomes more valuable when it happens regularly. Tomorrow, choose one meal and take a 10-minute walk afterward if it is safe for you. Do not use the walk to prove anything. Use it to create a signal your body can understand and repeat. Then, over the following weeks, let the habit grow at a pace your tissues can tolerate. You do not need to earn the right to begin by reaching a perfect number. The first useful walk is the one that fits your actual life. And the long-term transformation, when it happens, is usually not a dramatic event. It is the accumulation of ordinary steps that preserve a little more capacity, create a little more reserve, and keep the body familiar with movement. That is why walking can influence the entire body. Not because one walk fixes everything, but because the body keeps receiving the message.